Hello, lovely friend. I am Dr. Mary Barson.
And I'm Dr. Lucy Burns.
We are doctors,
weight management and metabolic health experts. We are the creators of My Metabolic Action Plan,
your two-step map to real health and weight loss,
which is in fact the name of this podcast.
Join My Map now at rlmedicine.com.
Good morning, lovely friend. I hope you're having a spectacular day today. Dr. Lucy here, of course, without the gorgeous Dr. Mary, but with an equally gorgeous guest. I have with me Rebecca Laut. Her story, her own personal story, is fascinating. And then the segue halfway through is going to be even more interesting. So I'm super excited to share this story today with you, my lovelies. Beck, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Dr. Lucy. Thank you for having me.
You are welcome. You are welcome. My lovely friend, a couple of months ago, as I was just having a little scroll through Facebook, I noticed that you were growing a human.
Yes, I am growing a human, just over 2 trimesters in now. And it has been a huge surprise to me who, after growing 2 businesses and didn't really think I would be ever growing a human, I'm in a really good position now, growing my little bub due in July this year.
Very, very exciting. And just before, when we were off air, you were mentioning how you'd sort of, been told that probably conception or babies were maybe not on your health horizon. So I thought maybe we could talk a little bit about your health, if that's okay, and share with our people listening along, what's going on for you.
Yeah, well, it's actually one of the early days when I met you, Lucy, and also Mary. I talked a lot and I love about your stories about PCOS and insulin resistance. And I was one of those women. I was suffering from PCOS. I actually found out quite early compared to a lot of other women. So I was a teenager. I was essentially put on the pill and told that was going to solve for all of my symptoms. And then I was an adult and I was told that, it could take some time to get pregnant. And I went off the pill for a significant period of time and I didn't actually get pregnant. So I had assumed that was part of it and that I wouldn't necessarily be in the position that I'm in now. But I've had a really interesting sort of, 18-month journey, which actually started with my GP recommending to me to go onto a GLP-1, which was to help me with my insulin resistance. And then over that time, I have just seen significant health benefits. And then in October last year, found out I was pregnant. So the miracle thing that I didn't know that I could potentially do. And now, expecting in July. So super excited about the outcome. And while it's been a massive journey, dealing with insulin resistance, dealing with my metabolic health, I've been listening to the podcast for such a long time now. And so following all of those things, both naturally with movement, weight training, walking, etc. But then you're having that GLP-1 to be able to really support me and my metabolism was really the game changer for me.
So interesting. And so if we just go back a couple of steps and maybe explain, how does PCOS or polycystic ovarian syndrome, how did it affect you? Like, what happened to you? What did you know?
Well, for me, a couple of the common symptoms as I came off the pill was typically acne or skin-related issues. So a lot of people obviously experience that. Significant hair loss for me was one of the things I definitely had at the time and was quite debilitating as someone who runs a business and is on social media and sort of fronting up to the camera quite often. It was really hard. But then also just things like really, really low energy, pain around ovulation time, and then that sort of shifting of ovulation from a 45-day cycle to a 22-day cycle and thereabouts anywhere in between, essentially.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you've given really some of the really common symptoms. And we know that the PCOS is more than just cysts on the ovary, which is unfortunately, it's actually a dud name because
it is,
it's really an entire metabolic process. And yes, the ovary is involved. But so women with PCOS often develop, as you said, acne. You can have hair loss head hair loss, so almost like a male pattern baldness. But for some women, they then get hair growing like hairy arms, hairy legs, moustache, and really the androgen component of it can be quite distressing. And unfortunately for lots of women, weight gain is really common and weight loss is really hard.
Yeah. And I think I suffered with that for most of my life, from probably, 15, 16, suffered, weight management across different periods of my life. And then coming off the pill, it was actually COVID at the time. So I was also, experiencing increased cravings through emotional support as well as other things as well. So I had put on significant amount of weight. The symptoms were worsening. Nothing seemed to really be a solution. And, going back on the pill was not a solution. So I had to find one. And at the time, my GP she'd actually mentioned it a couple of months prior, had said to me about how much they were working around the GLP-1 space and how it was treating other things outside of what we were knowing it to treat at the time. And so then I went on a 9-month journey, or 10 months in total, actually, on a GLP-1 where I was able to regulate some of my metabolism, regulate my insulin, which was amazing, and lose some weight and also gain some muscle at the same time, which was really, really beneficial.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell me, before you started the GLP-1, were you worried about muscle? Like, had your doctor mentioned it to you?
Yeah, she had. I was actually really worried stigma-wise to start off with. Being a young woman, to go on a drug like a GLP-1, I was a little bit attached to what people had been saying, in the media and all of those bits and pieces. But she had explained to me that I was already in a really good position because I was still concentrating on like walking and exercise, and in particular weight training frequently, like 4 times a week, that adding this in was actually not going to affect my muscle mass long term. But if I wasn't doing those things, it would be a concern of hers that I would potentially lose some muscle mass as part of that journey. So it was really about bringing it in to supplement all the other things that I was trying so hard to do. And it really did pay off for me, bringing my insulin down, bringing my inflammation down as well. Even I could see it in photos of my face, like my face's inflammation has come down significantly across that period of time. And I think it's one of the key roles in order for me to be here, with a very healthy, happy 29-week gestational period. It's an exciting time for me.
Oh, absolutely. And I think you've hit on a really interesting point too around the stigma, because we've got sort of externalized, but we've also got our own internalized stigma that, and you mentioned maybe some emotional eating or whatever, but there are plenty of people that emotionally eat but their body doesn't store fat in the way that people with insulin resistance do. And it's like, you just can't get away with it almost. And it feels therefore like, well, if I tried a bit harder and if I hadn't done that, then this wouldn't happen. Whereas I look at it and go, well, you can have 2 people who eat exactly the same thing. One of them has PCOS or PCOS and her body will store fat like crazy. The other person doesn't, different genes, and nobody says anything about that.
Yeah. I think for me, it definitely released that. For me, it released, once I got that out of my mind, released the idea that I was potentially not trying hard enough, not doing the right things. That stigma, once I released that, it really opened up an opportunity for me that I didn't know that I could have.
Yes. Yeah, I love that. That's a really good way to think about it. Yes, because you're right. I mean, so many people feel like they're somehow taking the easy way out and they just need to try a bit harder. And honestly, the majority of people that I see, the majority of women, they have been trying, and they've not been trying for just 1 week. They've been trying for like 30 years, decades. So no, that's great. And I'm so excited then to hear about, you're 29 weeks pregnant. So you're, be going on maternity leave soon. So how's the last or the 3rd trimester going for you?
Well, coming into 3rd trimester, I did get a lot of energy back in the 20 weeks from the 2nd trimester, which was really nice. But unfortunately, I've had a symptom that wasn't really ever talked about, I don't think, prior to being pregnant, which is pelvic girdle pain. And it has really stumped me. So I'm an avid golfer and I haven't been able to play golf since about week 14 of my pregnancy. And I was so annoyed / frustrated with myself because I'm thinking it's a low impact sport. It would be a great thing to be able to play throughout my pregnancy, pretty much right to the end. However, obviously pelvic girdle pain is now getting in my way, and it's quite different to actually not being mobile. There's very specific reasons why this is happening. And it's been a sad thing, but at the same time, it's allowed me to slow down a little bit and get ready for that prep before, finishing up at work.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, speaking of work, you have combined your love of golf with one of your businesses, and I think it's such a great idea. So tell us a little bit about Clubdayze.
Yeah, so Clubdayze sort of started because I started getting into golf back in 2022. I was looking for something as a new passion, and then I started to look for golf apparel, and it was just a big struggle. I couldn't find anything that I wanted. It was either sort of like male silhouetted products, which ended up quite, dipped in pink, or I say Palm Springs style. And like, to be honest with you, as a 30-something, Palm Springs retiree was not the vibe that I wanted. Or we would have the complete opposite of the spectrum, which was like tiny little skirts, tiny little shorts, like I was trying to prove something on the course.
Like tennis gear.
Yeah, tennis gear.
Yeah.
And I wasn't really fitting in, and I couldn't feel that like comfortability within a clubhouse. So I thought, well, why don't I combine my passion with product businesses, which is what I do every day, and golf, and make Clubdayze, a brand for the modern woman who wanted to get into golf, but also had that lifestyle element. And it really is about making people feel better when they're getting into golf, making them feel confident to get on the course. And we see a lot of first-time wearers of Clubdayze, also first-time golfers. So it's a really exciting space to be in, because at the moment, 60% of new golfers in Australia are women in the last 2 years. And I think that's showing generationally how the game is really being rebranded within women in this space.
Yeah, because you don't have to wear those stupid +4s anymore. You can wear something that's a bit...
Exactly. Feels good, looks good, all of those elements, but still fits the clubhouse that you have to meet the restrictions that are in place.
Yeah, there's some rules and all that sort of stuff.
Yes, yeah.
So tell me, 2022, how old were you then when you started golf?
So in 2022, I was 31, turning 32. I was so surprised that I started golf. I just always thought golf is a game my dad plays on the weekend with his mates. I was never really thinking it was going to be for me, but I happened to be at a conference, and my husband came along with me for a little holiday, and I sent him off for the day for his birthday to a golf course to play golf. And I'd often just, sit in the cart, be a passenger princess, as I like to call it, which is ironic because I'm a passenger princess again at the moment. But I was so frustrated that the clubhouse wouldn't even let me do that. They said that I couldn't come to the golf course if I wasn't playing. And I just knew at that moment that something needed to change. And I was like, one, this has to be way more accessible for women to get into golf. And then I literally returned home and I started that spring in the Give Golf a Go program offered by Golf Australia. And I have just loved it ever since.
Yeah. Oh, I think it's amazing. Like, so many of my friends who are, where women in mid-50s, they've taken up golf.
Yeah.
And I think for a lot of people, like you said, the husbands may have played. And so now there's this opportunity for them to play with their partner, and then it can be a joint activity.
Yeah, and I think even beyond that, for me, one of the things that surprised me is that it's also become a bit of a community for women as well now. With that 60% of new golfers in Australia being women, it means that more women are playing, which, while it's always felt like quite an outdated or stuffy male sport, it now sort of has this wonderful, genuine friendship that you get, spending hours on a golf course, walking around in the sunshine, thinking about things. It's been a really nice way to connect and build community that I was never expecting out of a sport like golf.
Yeah, amazing. And I love that you mentioned then the other lifestyle aspects, because you're right, it is a walk, like there's some movement. And again, for those people that struggle perhaps to walk a long way, well, of course there's, the cart option, but you're out in nature, and most golf courses are a beautiful environment. So health benefits there, tick. Sun, so lots of people play golf early morning, so they're getting their early morning sunshine. And so, of course, for the midday golfers, you probably, we need to be mindful of sun protection, but great way to get your vitamin D levels up.
Yeah, so for me, sunshine and those steps in have all just become incidentals. I come home and I genuinely feel a little bit physically exhausted, but I feel mentally fantastic when I come off the golf course because I've sort of had some space as well in the walking between holes and the trying to concentrate on something without your phone out and all those other things. And that's a huge benefit that I found physically and mentally on the golf course, on top of the sun and the steps.
Yeah. That's so interesting. I have just been talking about this idea that health, the current environment for us is hostile to health. Like, 100 years ago, before, cars had been invented, but they weren't as common. And let's even go back 150 years ago. Health was kind of easy because it was built into our life. You had to walk somewhere. The electricity wasn't as prevalent. So, you got up and when it was light and there wasn't televisions. And so all of the things that we now have to be proactive about, going to the gym or proactively being mindful or proactively doing strength training, you're getting all of that by playing golf. You're getting your walk in, you're getting your sunlight in, maybe not that much in the strength training unless you have to lift up your clubs, I suppose.
A little bit of rotation, maybe.
Yeah, some social connection and, tell me, is there much golf rage on the golf course?
Well, there is, yes. And it's really funny you say that because sometimes you do play with someone and you put it in your little back of your brain, I'm never going to play with you again because of that one thing, golf rage. Sometimes it's my husband, so I'll call him out on that. But I think on the most part, because golf is such a concentrating game, it really does make you think about what is just in front of you and not what's for dinner, what's on next week's calendar, what do I have to get to do on my to-do list. It's quite a tangible game and quite a tactical game. So having that ability to sort of create that concentration on something so specific, it really does allow for a mindset that is quite open but also calm. And so I tend to walk away thinking how nice the pause was and how nice the slowdown was, and it sort of allows it to creep into the rest of my life, allowing me to sort of slow down a little bit when I'm making decisions, slow down about when I'm reacting to things. And so I've really found that that's been a really nice sweet spot with what I have on the course to what I take off the course.
Oh, I love that. And again, I think that probably the thing with golf rage is the crankier you get, the less you perform. And
absolutely.
we're trying to kind of really create a flow state. So it really is. There's another little favorite word that I've had this week, which is called pleiotropic. And pleiotropy refers to genes normally, so genetics. So when you've got one gene that affects multiple areas of the body, and the easiest example to think of is the gene that codes for red hair.
Oh, yep.
So red hair and blue eyes are often paired together. And the interesting thing about that combo is that those people often have a decreased pain threshold. So, for anesthetics, for example, they need a higher dose. And that is based on genes, not anything else.
Environment or anything else, yeah.
Nope, it's just their genetics. And so one gene, multiple effects. Whereas what you're describing here is one lifestyle aspect or one game like golf, multiple benefits. So physical and mental and social benefits. Brilliant. God, sign me up, lady. Sign me up.
And honestly, the best part for me is that you're doing it all in one. And I mean, I'm well and truly happy to take up the 4 hours, but there is a lot of different ways now that you can play golf. You don't actually have to go down the traditional, 18 holes, 4 hours. You can play a shorter game, or, there's different ways to get into golf now with like online simulators or looking at driving ranges. And these are becoming more and more accessible because so many more people are getting into golf, and particularly women getting into golf who might not have the 4 hours because, we're running a busy domestic life. We've got all these things going on. So there's other ways that are now also accessible for golf that weren't necessarily accessible before, which is also really awesome. And a great way to dip your toes into the game of golf.
Yeah, perfect. You're right. I mean, yeah. And I do know lots of people go to the driving range as, an activity. So yeah, fantastic. So with your golf clothes, and I love the way that you called it apparel, which is such a an owner of a clothing brand to use. But
love that.
Yeah, with your apparel, tell me a little bit about that. What did you specifically think was missing, apart from the idea that you didn't necessarily want to be wearing kind of old person clothes?
Yeah, I think a couple of things. I think a lot of it had to do with, there was a lot of amazing brands doing great things with really nice fabric. So the fabrication was really important. Remembering that if you are playing a traditional game of golf, you're in something for 4+ hours. You've got to be super comfortable in it. So moving away from just traditional polyester to certain blends, which allowed for, our cotton polos, for example, super breathable. And particularly as women, and, as you're in perimenopause, menopause, and having that heat up and down, even in pregnancy for me, having that heat up and down, having that cotton close to your body is such a lovely feeling. So really fabrication was incredibly important from the start with how we went about things. We wanted something that felt great on, was durable, but also fit the sport for what it was. And then really thinking about flattering cuts, which were made and designed for women of all sizes. So we go from an 8 to an 18 currently, and we're looking to go to a 22 in the future. We've had a lot of demand from like our 16, 18 and 14 size range. And this is really reflective in who we are as a brand as well. So on our website, we have models in an 8, a 10, a 12, a 14, a 16 in all different varieties. And, I was 16 a size 16 when I started designing the brand. So it was a really good opportunity for me to think about it from a size 16 and not necessarily a size 8, which is where a lot of brands start their design from. And then they just basically add fabric on. And I don't believe that a size 8 and a size 16 body have the same curves. And so it was a really beautiful way to sort of give homage to the woman's body and be able to find something that fits great, feels great at a size 16, 18, etc.
Yeah, perfect. And so I love that, because it's what we often see in lots of things is that the person who is doing the designing isn't actually the person who is doing the wearing. Whereas in your case, you were the wearer. You saw a hole in the market, a deficiency, and so you designed something to fill that hole.
Yeah, in fact, it's actually really funny. Our skirt, which is our core skirt, we have it in 3 colors now, but it's our absolute, definitely like the most sold product. And one of the things was I was getting so frustrated. I was buying skirts from some of the major golf brands and some other, major active wear brands. And every single time I would come home from a round and I'd get so shitty and I'd cut the shorts out because it was so uncomfortable. And there was no way I wanted to cope with chafe on a 4-hour round. Like, it was just impossible. So I actually wore test the skirt for like 140 hours because I was so passionate about getting it right, about having the right fit. And the shorts in our skirt or our skirt are incredibly comfortable and, have been designed, with that really long wear in mind. And so, yeah, for me, it was a really big passion project and something that I am so glad that I was able to spend the time doing, to be able to put something in the market that I feel really proud and passionate about.
Oh, I love that. And on top of all of that, it's a female-founded small business Australian brand. You're not a giant multinational who's bloody, opening up sweatshops. It's just a really lovely kind of authentic way to create a product. I love it.
Yeah, thank you. And I think it's been really nice to see the support as well from other Aussie women who are either new to golf. As I said, we've had a lot of new golfers, which has been amazing, but also seeing people incorporate the products into their normal life. We have a lot of products like our quarter zip, which I'm wearing at the moment, but I see women at Pilates. There's a couple of women locally who play golf with me, but then they wear it to Pilates, or we sometimes get people send us photos with them in our shorts or in our pants, just with going in their day-to-day life because the fabric is great and it's so comfortable to wear, so it sort of fits within the lifestyle and not just at the golf course.
Yeah, perfect. So it's sort of like activewear that doesn't look like activewear.
That's it. Yeah.
Perfect. Great. Wonderful. So how do people find Clubdayze?
So we're all on all of the social channels. So at Clubdayze, CLUBDAYZE. And the concept there was actually that, it is about the days and it's about having that long opportunity to take ritual, to take time out for the golf course, and then at www.clubdayze.com.
Good. Excellent. And we will have the links in the show notes. If you're driving, do not look at them now. They will all be there and on our website. So fantastic. I love this, Beck, because I think that getting women moving is really good. I think for a lot of women, the word exercise has been traumatic. They're anxious and a bit worried about it. And you've given us a really great insight into how accessible and inclusive taking up a new sport could be.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't recommend it enough to dip your toe in, give it a try. It might just be the thing that you find that helps you to break that barrier and to add something new to your routine that's great for you in many ways.
Wonderful. Great. Well, thank you so much. Lovely friend. Have a spectacular day. And I will be back next week, possibly with Dr. Mary. Who knows? We will wait and see. Take very good care of yourselves. Bye for now. The information shared on the Real Health and Weight Loss podcast, including show notes and links, provides general information only. It is not a substitute, nor is it intended to provide individualised medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment, nor can it be construed as such. Please consult your doctor for any medical concerns.